Salutations everybody, it is Matty here. Last time that we saw some rumbling in the indie scene in regards to PlayStation and Xbox was a Twitter thread about Platform X. It came from Lane Garner, who is the co-founder of Neon Doctrine, which is an indie publishing label. And in there was a documented story about presumably PlayStation. Pretty safe assumption. It was very much obvious as he referred to it as the successful platform without Game Pass and described certain things that would only involve PlayStation. He talked a little bit about a $25,000 fee to be featured on the storefront, that they had invite-only discounts, and that overall the process working with PlayStation was quite ancient and frustrating, so much so that he thought I'd burn a bridge and tell people about it. Now, when I saw this, I didn't leap on it and make a video because I thought, well, this is one team's experience with PlayStation. I don't think it's fair to leap in and treat it like fact as if this applies to a lot of other indie devs. Interestingly, in that exact thread, Lane also mentioned that a lot of other popular indie devs felt the same way. So we remain patient to see, hey, who else will speak out? And then a really great interview came out from Twinfinite, a short one at that, from a developer who's working with Xbox exclusively, and their choice of words highlights the same story. I'm very selective when I use the word exposed in my videos because I don't like it anymore because so many YouTubers abuse that word. But I really do think this is a time where Xbox has exposed PlayStation through their work in the indie market. For those who were not paying attention for many years, PlayStation led the indie market hardcore. I remember the PS Plus games. I remember on PlayStation 4 and Vita, that was the hybrid of hybrids for indie games. Dude, my Vita was an indie machine. That's how it was for everybody. Granted, Vita wasn't super popular, but even on the PS4, PlayStation was killing it with indies. Then the Switch stepped in and was the next leading charge for indies thanks to its portability. There were indie games that were selling poorly on other platforms, but then doing well on the Switch. And now it looks like it's Xbox's turn to kick up the indie market a little bit more. And the generosity is certainly being felt where it looks like a lot of people are upset with PlayStation's process, with how they treat indie developers, and are thrilled with the way Xbox is approaching things. So I wanted to talk about it today, why this may be the case and why there is looking to be a shift in the indie market. Because I think it's important because these games are the least controlled ones. We see so many different investors and hands in the cookie jars of AAA games. So the future of indie games is really important, and it looks like it's on the Xbox platform. So let's read this interview from Twinfinite and discuss some more. The article is titled, "Replace Devs, Microsoft Partnership Has No Cons, They Actually Care About the Indie Market." Speaking with Sad Cat Studios last week, the team behind the incredibly good-looking upcoming cinematic platformer Replaced, which is launching exclusively on Microsoft platforms via Game Pass, I was keen to get a sense of why the team opted to partner with Microsoft and what their experience has been like so far. Studio co-founder Igor Gritze explained, saying, "The biggest part of the partnership for us is that Microsoft actually cares about the indie market. Otherwise, well, there would be much fewer games on all platforms, so this impacts PlayStation in its own inadvertent way. They really give a chance to small studios to actually produce something and provide marketing awareness to people. I would say that for indie studios, I can't even think of a con with partnering with Microsoft because they provide funding and marketing reach." There is more to talk about, but this was the meatiest quote of it all. This was the juiciest one for us to really sink our teeth into and discuss. I've said this multiple times on podcasts that you may be familiar with, like Ham Radio Defining Duke, where I've said for a while, the indie market will swing. Now, it was not because of Xbox favoritism or because I just liked what they were doing. My reasoning was really Game Pass. I said, hey, what indies need more than anything is exposure. There are so many great video games out there. I think it's one of the best times to be a gamer because there's so much good content coming out. But with so much good content coming out, there's a bit of an oversaturation for some folks. I want to play this, this, and that. And it's really hard to get your game into people's hands where they might look at it and go, yeah, I want to play that. Then the time comes, they don't spend that money. So Game Pass is the perfect conduit to getting people into playing your game, word of mouth marketing, getting people making videos on it, talking about it, website articles being published, and then boom, a little bit more sales coming your way. This is why we're also seeing second wind marketing through indies where they're now just joining up with Game Pass because, hey, they had their big burst at launch, they did well, Now collect your bag again over on Game Pass, whether it's per download or a lump sum, however they decide to divide it up. I thought that would be what propelled indies forward on the Xbox platform, just this no-doubter player base there that can play the thing that you've made, because more than anything, I think indies are extremely passionate. Once again, no disrespect to the AA, AAA scene. They are also passionate, but with indie, it's such a high risk. 2 people made Death's Door, one of the best games of the year. Of course, there were more people involved as time went on, but that came from Acid Nerve, a team of 2 people. That's incredible, and it's one of the most competent games I played this year. It's excellent. So I think we got to salute our indie devs because they are killing it, and they're doing the biggest risk of it all. So if you can have a company that says, like, here's your money, here we'll put you on a stage, we'll get your game out there, we'll make sure people know about it, what more do you want to ask for, right? Like, as long as you can make the game and then put it out there and then make your money off of it to then make another game, anything that can ease that very stressful process probably will win the favor of devs. And if that's what Xbox truly is doing, which it seems to be the case, that's awesome. Because you look at a game like Replaced, that is a wonderful get for them. You can already tell just by looking at this game. It looks beautiful, this cyberpunk noir 2D side-scrolling with some cool-looking action, silky smooth animations. It looks phenomenal. Something that you could probably only get in the indie market. You're not going to see suddenly Sony Santa Monica or the Coalition come out and make a game like this. It just never happened. This can only be found in the indie market, and it's why it's so important. So it's very good that Xbox is doubling down, because quite honestly, when they started ID at Xbox, it wasn't that great. There were a lot of issues with the program that developers had, and that's why you saw them still continue to go over to PlayStation. One of the other problems, I put it in quotes, problems, was that really Xbox only rang the bell once a year, and that was for the Xbox Summer Arcade of games. And it was a wonderful time to be an Xbox gamer because you knew something good was going to come out of that. That's always what happened, but that sort of faded out. Now they're just all in on indies where we're kind of having a summer arcade in our own way. We're getting a lot of good stuff. Death's Door is an exclusive. We're getting The Ascent. There's a ton of other indie games coming to Xbox, like Hades is coming through Game Pass. So they're doing a really good job doubling down on it. But let's read a little bit more about what Sad Cat Studios had to say about teaming up with Xbox, because I think it shines a brighter light on things. As for Game Pass, it allows more people to learn about the game and actually play the game, because there is frequently this situation for many players where they will see the game in the store and they want it, but at the same time, it is $30, $60, or even more. And so maybe you wishlist it and then you usually forget. However, with Game Pass, you can just press a button and install. Of course, sometimes the possible con of that is, people might be too overflowing with games, and so each game gets less attention. Still, equally, it is a chance for those games to shine. In other situations, they might otherwise be drowned out by thousands of other games. Game Pass allows us and many other developers to actually deliver our project to people. Also, from what I heard, Game Pass also boosts sales, but we'll see about that. To summarize, it's a win-win situation for us. Makes sense. I don't think I need to sit here and explain it more. We've heard it. We've seen the numbers between the likes of Outriders, MLB The Show, and plenty of other games, Sega games, joining Game Pass and seeing a sales boost from them, because it's almost like renting a game from Blockbuster. Shout out to my Blockbuster homies out there. You rent a game from Blockbuster, you buy it for a week maybe, $7 I think it was. If you like it, you can pay more, and then you can have the whole thing with you. A lot of people did that. I was not one of them because I did not want the Blockbuster cases on my shelf. Good nostalgia there, but I didn't want a Blockbuster case for the final copy. I would just return it and then go buy it separately. I was weird even as a kid, I know. But more to my point is I feel like this provides that same ability, but the difference is you can really play to completion for, I don't want to say limitless time, because eventually these games leave Game Pass, but there is that ability to try it out and go, you know what, I like this, I'm going to buy it. And actually knowing that and confidently purchasing it. There's something good about that that's undeniable. My worry is oversaturation in a different way. We see so much good stuff coming to Game Pass, and it's only going to grow. And when you see indie devs talking like this, they talk to one another behind the scenes, what we're not seeing with all these interviews. And if they're just starting to go over to the Xbox side of things, eventually Xbox has some decisions to make. And of course, they want to take as much content on as they can, but they want to make sure it's good. They also want to make sure that with the money they're investing, which I don't know how much the ID at Xbox program is allowed to invest, but that means you have to make more decisions, and in turn, more products come onto your service, And when that starts to happen, you have to ask yourself the question of, will there be an oversaturation on Game Pass? Certainly that wouldn't be a problem for us, the gamer, but as game makers like myself, others, you have to ask those questions. Where in 3-4 years time, what does this conversation actually look like? Is it just because Xbox is good, or is it because of the bonus of Game Pass? We'll see in due time on that. But I thought this was a really interesting conversation to have, because as someone who I grinded indies on my Vita constantly, and I always associated indies with PlayStation, it's kind of interesting to see the more artsy side of games move their way to Xbox. This is something that, you know, PlayStation was always known for. And of course, they still have great indies coming out, like Sifu is a great looking one. Very excited for that. That's the one that comes to mind immediately. And all the platforms are doing respectively good things with indies, but it sounds like PlayStation has this very ancient process that devs are starting to speak up about to sort of get to PlayStation and be like, hey, we're really having a tough time supporting you here. But of course, then once they fix that process, if they ever do, the question will be, how exactly do we compete on a monetary front? Because I've personally heard from devs that, like, even the spreadsheets you get to learn data about your game, like how many copies did we sell of this game here in this region, and the amount of sells and confusion in numbers there, it's once again just this ancient process. And then not even be able to put your game on a discount and be competitive for certain times of the year, and you have to be invited in. Very, very odd. I don't know why there isn't product control on that front, but it makes it unappealing, right? Because sometimes it's about that discount, getting people into your service to maybe pay attention to the sequel, right? Imagine having a sequel announcement for your big indie game, and you want to go ahead and put a discount on the first one, get more people in, and you can't. Really weird. So I just want to share some thoughts on this. I thought it was an interesting enough topic to talk about. We talked about it on Defining Duke. We'll talk about it more on Ham Radio, but I wanted to really shine a spotlight on it in a video here today. So let me know what you're thinking about this in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Big thank you to everyone who's supporting the content there. We just dropped for early access The Life and Death of Dead Space. It'll be available for free later on the line, but thank you to everyone who made that video possible. It is almost half an hour long. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.